everybody, welcome. Fantastic to have you here. Thank you for your time. I'm always very respectful of people's time, and I'm sure today you're going to really benefit from being on the Results Mastery live program. I've got a very special guest. I'll introduce him in a couple of minutes. But just before I do, I always like to tell people about what I'm doing here, because I think it's just brilliant that we can do this. So right now I'm live on LinkedIn, or we're live on LinkedIn. We're also live on Facebook and YouTube. We're streaming it on my podcast, and we're live on iTunes and Amazon Music and about 30 other streaming sites. And I don't know about you, I'll talk to John in a second, but I don't know about you, but I can remember, if I wanted to get a marketing message out to today's going to be about 7,000 people, that involves 7,000 envelopes, 7,000 stamps, and lots of trips to the post office. Now we can do this easily. We can do it worldwide. We can do it on multiple vehicles all at the same time. And the great thing is, you can do this as well. It's not that difficult. I'd strongly recommend, looking at LinkedIn Lives. I use Streamline to put that out, and it's StreamYard, not Streamline. StreamYard to put it out, and it's a fantastic thing to do. Anyway, welcome to the conversation, John Attridge. Thank you ever so much for being here. John's the founder of BBX. He's a businessman, he's an entrepreneur, he's an Australian businessman, and a great guy who I've met recently, but we've had a couple of good conversations. And do you know what? When you meet someone you instantly get on well with, well, John was definitely that, and that's why I've invited him to here. So thank you ever so much for being here, John, and welcome to the programme.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, that 50 quid is on its way to you.
Yeah, but that's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. Yeah, I'm always open to bribery.
Such a kind invitation. Yes,
that's all right. No problem at all. So, John, kick off by telling everybody a little bit more. I'll give you a very, very quick introduction, but a little bit more about your history, because I know it's fascinating. So, please just give us an.
Yeah, so we started through adversity back in 1989, where we had a pilot's strike when I had a car rental business, and all my customers dried up overnight, a little bit like COVID. Right. And we had to do something a little bit different in order to survive. That was the idea. So we started a business community. We call it a circular community, a reciprocal community, boomerang community, whatever you like to call it, where people do business with one another before we look outside the group. So forerunner to, if people are thinking LinkedIn and PayPal, imagine if those two got together, where you have to own the business in order to have a profile, but we have our own bespoke payment gateway that allows people to buy and sell to one another, and we specialise in the spare capacity opportunity in any business. So capturing and monetising that in the form of a digital trade credit to then use to buy goods and services, keeping cash. So the net result is more customers, better cash flow, and more profit at the end. So I have had two successful exits doing that over the years, two 8-figure sums, and the current enterprise is 10 years old coming up, and we've got a good 7-figure valuation going in the third attempt.
Fantastic. Well, not enough money to live on, but clearly not too bad, as Tony Robbins says. I think he earns about 7 billion, something like that. But yeah, well done with that. So just a quick note for everybody here. If you could, in the comments, just tell us a little bit about you, if you would, please. We're looking to know, are you a small company, turnover, let's say, less than 100K? If you are, just put S in there, or a bigger company over that 100K, just put a little B, just to give us an idea of who you are and how big you are, and also what line of business you're in. That would be really interesting to us as well. So if you'd like to do that, great. Now I know, John, you've got a book, which I love the title, by the way. I always say to people, one of the most important things in marketing, whether it's a book, whether it's a website, whether it's an email or a social media campaign, the old advertising saying that the headline is the advert for the advert is really true. And I love the title of your book, which inspired the title of today, which is Business Blunders and Bloody Good Ideas. So tell us a little bit about that and how that came to be and what it's all about, please.
Yeah, so it's actually business blunders and bloody great ideas. But anyway, we won't quibble over a couple of letters. But it's the idea, Steve, as to why 50% of people in business survive despite their best efforts not to, and the rest fail. Yeah. And it's ideas and insights that I've got over the years of working with hundreds of thousands of business owners in 30-odd countries, and just observing some of the dumb things that they do. And, you know, we all have these conversations, don't we? We're down the pub on a Friday having a beer, and you say to your mate, you know, I just got off that aeroplane, and if the door turned left to right instead of right to left, everybody would have got off in half the time. You know the type of conversation. Yeah. So what seems obvious to the customer doesn't seem so obvious to the actual owner or the founder of the business, and you wonder why. So you have these sort of conversations. So that's the catalyst for it. And a customer of mine, Steve Foster, from One Golden Nugget. They're a group that put together 1,000 people with nuggets of wisdom from people that owned businesses of significant sizes, and just had to just contribute one piece of advice to the book, and I was a part of that process. And Steve helped me get the book together and get it all formatted, and we did it using some of the modern technology, not AI, by the way. Okay. Formatting and whatnot, all the painful stuff that was the reason I hadn't written it, and people had been after me to write one for 20 years. So Steve was able to help with that, and then. I'm on book number 2. It's still top secret.
Okay, all right, okay.
But it's a collaboration with Joe Foster. No relation. Joe is the founder of Reebok.
Okay. So wow.
Watch the space.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to let me, and I'll let everybody know when that comes out. So. Yeah. You mentioned blunders, and I do know what you mean. I like you've been around a long time. I started my business in 1995, 28 years ago, and in that time, I always say to people that there's a commonality, isn't there, in those mistakes that people make. There's not like 10,000 different mistakes. So what would, I don't know, the top 4 or 5 mistakes that you've come across that you feel would be useful to tell people so that they don't make those mistakes, particularly if we've got people who are starting off today?
Yeah, there's probably the 3 main ones I talk about in the book. The first one is Stephen R. Covey's second habit of highly successful people, which is starting with the end in mind. Yeah. Now, we started our business, our first trade exchange in 1989. This is pre-digitisation, pre-the internet, pre-mobile phones. And we called ourselves the Queensland Trade Exchange, which was a fantastic name because all our friends from Queensland and all our business associates. But the second we moved into New South Wales, it became the worst name ever. Yeah. Because, anybody familiar with Australia, New South Wales and Queensland, they're always at each other.
Oh, are they? Right, okay. They're like Yorkshire and Lancashire here, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like
thing. So, Australia and England in the cricket, but we won't go there.
We don't want to talk about
that. So if we'd have thought about the process and started with the end and then worked our way backwards, we would have come up with a better name, which in end, we were called Trade Limited. Even then, we could have been called Trade Unlimited, some people suggested. But that was a far better name, more suitable for a global audience than it was for a very local. Yeah. So, people talk about starting with the end in mind, but, people put more effort into planning their holiday than they do their business sometimes. And you wouldn't go on holiday not knowing where the destination
where you were going. No, and yet
or how you were going to get there, and it'd be step by step as to the how you were going to do it, what you were going to do when you're there, all that sort of stuff. But people come up with an idea, they get passionate about it, they start a business, and it just sort of grows like topsy. So that's number one.
Yeah, absolutely.
The second one is a book I read many years ago by Richard Koch, which is called The Pareto Principle, Pareto, otherwise known as the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
And it's a good read. It only takes probably a couple of hours. I read it on a plane going to Los Angeles one time back in the 90s, and it changed my life forever. So for those that are unfamiliar with it, it says things like 80% of your revenue will come from your top 20% of customers. 80% of your complaints come from 20% of your customers. If you could get rid of 20% of your worst customers, worst 80% of customers, your life would be a lot easier. There's a 1,000 different variants. So that, and then applying it literally, because as an example, COVID hit. That was a smack in the face, as Mike Tyson said. Everyone's got a plan until you get a smack in the face. So we surveyed all our clients and figured out the 80% that were going to they couldn't survive, they couldn't operate, they were closed physically. So we then focused 80% of our energies and our time towards the 20% that could still operate. Things like that. So you've got an organised plan. And then the last thing, which is why I've been in business for the last 34 years, is monetising and doing something with the spare capacity opportunity that every business has. So spare capacity is the ability to take on more revenue without increasing fixed cost. So we use an example of a hotel. It has 100 rooms. It sells every room for £100 a night. It's got a 70% occupancy. That tells me it's a good business. It's making $7,000. But what about the $3,000 it's leaving on the table? So where I've been able to specialise over the years is working with those 30 unsold rooms and then capturing and then monetising and storing the value of those and then doing something with that new money to help the business grow. And it'll get you that extra boost that your competitors won't be able to get anywhere near.
Again, really, really good point there. It's something that people don't necessarily focus on. They're often out there doing various campaigns and things without really thinking about what it is we want, whether it's more money from the current clients or more clients or repeat business and so on. So good one. And
they'll get coaches in, they'll get accountants in, and they'll focus on management accounts every month and P&Ls and balance sheets, and which is all good stuff. But nobody ever stops to measure the unsold potential in the business. And then, so if you're not even measuring it, how are you going to try and attack it?
No, I agree. Again, that's something I talk about, and I'm sure you do all the time, about the numbers. Numbers are the currency of business. We all know that. But it's not just about financial numbers, is it? It's about conversion rates of your marketing and your occupancy rates in terms of a hotel, or if you're a coach, how busy are you? You could have 10 clients a month, but you've only got 6. So 40% of your income, arguably, is being lost every single month. And but often,
and to a lot of people on the call, and I'm assuming there's a lot of service-based businesses on the call, Steve. Who are selling their time. That's what we call a perishable asset. So, because once today goes past and you haven't monetised the value of that, you can never recapture it. It's not like a pair of shoes that can sit on the shelf till Monday. Once time evaporates, it's gone.
Once that aeroplane takes off the runway half full, that's it, isn't it? So you might as well do whatever you can to make sure that you, as you say, there's a fixed cost to that plane. And if it's full as opposed to half full, it might, the cost of sale might go up because it costs a bit more in petrol and people and so on. But the profit is there, and at times it's been wasted without a doubt.
Well, a plane's a good example. because there's no rise. The captain still gets paid by
Exactly.
the journey, not by the amount of passengers that are on. They even have to factor in the food because it comes in the trolley that's already paid for. There's and the fuel is the same. The little bit of extra passenger weight means nothing.
No, you're probably right there. Yeah, absolutely. So they're an example of some of the blunders. What about the great ideas side? Have you got any, tips for people? What should they be doing now? And I think also with the time of year, what are your recommendations for next year that people should be doing?
So perhaps I could take an example and a case study.
Yeah,
Steve.
perfect. Please,
And this is, I talk them on stage, and as we were talking just before the show, I do many events around the place. I was at Cheltenham this week, and I'm at Birmingham on Monday, and London Excel coming up on
fantastic,
Wednesday and Thursday this coming week. So anybody that's there, big business show there, which is going to be fantastic. I think they said 27,000 have registered. So
wow, that's brilliant.
Good event to come along.
Yep.
But some of the things I speak about, and there's an example there, and it's in the book. My wife and I, and this was just before COVID, and we're driving down the road, and we saw this sign. We had 2 adult kids in the back, and it said, "Come in and try our new pizza oven." And it was the pear on barley. Sorry, pear on barley, if you're out there listening, but you're the guinea pig for this.
Okay.
So we thought, there's a sign. We fancy a pizza. Come and try our outdoor pizza oven. So there was the hook.
Yeah.
So we drove up the driveway. We parked. Nice, plenty of parking space. Nice trees, landscape, river down the bottom, grassed outside. Got greeted at the door. Lovely. This was a fantastic place. So we walked in, had a drink, got ushered to our table. The waitress came along after we'd ordered the meal, and you know how they do after about half a mouthful, son, how's everything going? Which is the most ridiculous question ever, because it doesn't benefit you in any way, shape or form.
No.
And even if it wasn't going, the English, which are a little different to Australia, which is a culture.
We always say, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. But they just don't come up again.
And then they walk away and you go, never eating here again.
Such a dumb question.
It is.
Anyway, we spent £100 and had a nice bottle of wine and all the stuff, and we're walking out the door, and I said to my wife, they've just made the 3 biggest blunders I've ever seen. And she said, why? What were they? It was lovely. I said, yeah, it was all right. The ambience was great. The service was fantastic. They still, to this day, this was 5 years ago, haven't got a clue who I am.
No.
So they did no data capture.
Yeah.
So there's a blunder that you could turn into a bloody great idea in your business if you simply took proper data capture. Now, for a restaurant, all they need is your email address and your month of birth. Why would they need the month of birth, do you think, Steve?
Well, so they can do things like birthday invites and things like that.
Don't need rocket science, is it? So
it's not,
they could write to me a month before and say that they're doing something.
Yeah.
The second blunder is that they didn't understand my buying motivation. And I know a lot of businesses do data capture, but I very rarely come across anybody that asks me, instead of how the food was, and I'm paraphrasing this for a restaurant, if they'd have asked me, John, would you mind just sharing with me what motivated you to turn the car steering wheel to come up our driveway today? And I would have said, it was the sign saying come and try the new outdoor pizza oven. Now, if 28% of your respondents say it was, the come and try the outdoor pizza oven, then you'd put a picture of the thing on all of your marketing.
Yeah.
Every time you sent an email out, you'd have a picture of the pizza oven, because 28% of the people get motivated by that particular aspect.
Yeah. And it's a little bit different, isn't it? You don't. It's not. In that industry, I've never heard of that, an outdoor pizza oven. What's that then? Oh, that's interesting. Just to go and have a look and find out what it is and whether, how it works.
And when was the last time you went to a restaurant and they asked you what motivated you to come in the front door in a nice way?
Never.
Okay. So if you don't understand the buying motivation as to why people are coming to do business with you, how is it possible to market to them effectively? That's my second question.
Great point.
The third thing is they never gave me an invitation to return. So on the bottom of every marketing, there's always a call to action. Most marketing people would agree. So why can't you as a business owner give a call to action for your customers to come back and do business with you, rather than saying thanks for your business or some other equally stupid acknowledgement? So we had included in the £100 bill was a £28 bottle of Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc. My wife loves Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc. Okay. Therefore, she that has to be obeyed
has to have that.
Gets what she wants.
Yeah.
Now, I know I can go to the wholesaler and get that for £6 or £7. They were marketing that for 28. You know, it was a nice day. Everything else, I get it. People are pouring it and what have you. Now, if they'd have said, John, come back and bring a friend and buy 2 main meals or 2 pizzas, and we'll give you a free bottle of Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah.
Now, off a £100 bill, that's a 28% discount.
Yeah.
So to me, the buyer, that's a significant reason to return.
Yeah.
But to them, the supplier, it only costs them 5 or 6.
Yeah, and if you divide that by 2, if you bring somebody, that's cost them £3 a meal, isn't it?
So I'd ask people, what can you do in your business that offers value to your customer that doesn't cost you 100 pence in the pound?
Great question. So
there's a business blunder that's now turned into 3 bloody good ideas if they applied the reverse of what the blunder was to make it into a positive.
Yeah.
So there's a good example.
Yeah, brilliant example. I think, John, you know, one of the things that I find, and I'd be interested just to know your thoughts on it, is that people have good intentions, but they don't carry it out. And it's not only with marketing, but it's with lots of things. You know, weight loss. You know, I'm a little bit overweight myself, you know. Back when I was in my 20s, I was about 3 stone lighter than I am now. I know what I need to do. I need to eat less and move more, you know, basically. But, and the same with marketing. You know, I have clients and, you know, they're saying, oh, you know, times... You know, they start working with me because times are tough and it's not going that well. And then we get a month in, and sometimes, you know, if I'm working with them on the advisory side rather than the doing it side, they've just not simply not done enough. You know, do you find that? And if so, what would your advice be to somebody who's saying, well, I'm busy Steve, or I'm busy John, I've not had time to do that, John? How do you handle that? I'm really interested.
Well, the first bit was that you understand intentions, because Guy Fawkes was the last person to enter Parliament with honest intentions, wasn't he? So,
yes.
So that aside, So why do people they go from shiny thing to shiny thing? They don't implement strategy and then consistently execute the strategy.
I agree. Yeah.
So that's the it's like anything else. If you're a professional footballer, you turn up to training 5 days a week. Yeah. You play your 2 games or whatnot. You have a set routine. And
you do that for years and years, since you were like 6 or something, don't you, before you ever get there. And I think you're right. I think there's some truth in that, because in marketing, as we know, and in weight loss, in my example, we often don't get immediate gratification, don't we? You know, we don't often go, right, I'm just going to post on LinkedIn, do a post, and then 20 seconds later the phone rings, when we get 45 phone calls. That doesn't happen in reality. It takes time and effort to build up and keep working. And sometimes I think people, as you say, they want that shiny coin straight away, and so they I hear people say, well, I've tried LinkedIn and so that didn't work, and so I then went on to Facebook and I didn't really get anywhere there, so I started doing Google ads, and that was a waste of time. And when you actually analyse what they've done, I always remember one guy telling me, it was a new business, and he said, I started off doing direct mail. I said, oh, right, okay. He said, I sent a load of direct mail out, but it didn't work. He said, it's a waste of time. I said, oh, what did you do? He said, well, I sent out 10 letters. I said, what, to how many people? He said, no, 10 letters. He sent out 10 letters once, and he didn't win any business. I know that sounds really, really weird, but he sent 10 letters once, and now the whole of the direct mail industry doesn't work because his 10 letters. I said, well, do you know the conversion rate of direct mail? I said, if you get like a 2%, you send 100 letters, you get 2. You're doing quite well. But
people are like a dog with a lamppost. They expect to pee on a few, and something happens as a result of it. And,
that's a good expression.
Well, it comes back to consistency, doesn't it?
Does.
The other thing is that people are usually great and passionate about what they do, but hopeless about running every other aspect of a business.
Yeah.
And so one of the other things I talk about in the book is to focus on the things that you are passionate about, you are great at, and put 80% of your effort into those things and outsource the 20% of things that you hate doing and are bad at.
Yeah. There's no point doing that, is there? You don't like doing it and you're rubbish at it,
Get a marketing coach in that knows what they're doing.
If you don't like marketing, get somebody else to do it. If you don't like bookkeeping, which I don't, get somebody else to do it, big believer.
Peter Drucker, for those in the audience, you can Google it if you've never heard of the guy. He's been around for 70 years, now no longer with us. He made an observation in the 50s that 92% of entrepreneurs are product-led and only 8% are sales-led. And yet he also observed that 80% of the product-led businesses failed and only 20% of the sales-led businesses failed.
I wonder why that is.
One of the key things is if you haven't got enough revenue, you've got a hobby.
Yes.
So focus on the sales in your business, and if you're not good and great and passionate about selling, then make sure you've got a partner or an alliance or some
way of
strategy that gets the revenue coming in the front door. Because you can have the best widget ever, but if nobody knows about it, then you haven't got a business.
Wise words. We're coming to the end, John. Thank you ever so much for your time. I really appreciate it. There's enough information you gave there, I think, to really help a business significantly grow. But like all things, it's all about implementation. If you're listening to me now and you're thinking, oh yeah, that was really interesting, John was really good, and so on. If you don't do anything, you're not going to get any results. It doesn't matter whether it's me, John, or anybody. It's about taking action, guys. So, I stress that all the time. Results come from knowing what to do and taking action. That's where you get results from. So please do that. So, John, if people want to know more about you or your book, the events that you're running, what should they do, please?
Yeah, probably the simplest way is to find me on LinkedIn. There's not too many of me, and if you just put BBX after my name, you'll see where I am. For those of you who are around the London area next Wednesday and Thursday, I'll be speaking and I'll be exhibiting at the business show at London XL both days. So feel free to come along and catch up. Connect with me on LinkedIn in any case, and if you've got any questions, I'm more than happy to do my best to try and give you some solutions.
Fantastic. And thanks again. It's great to be speaking to you today. Good luck next week, and I'm sure we'll be able to catch up soon. Thank you ever so much, everybody, for listening, and take care. And as I said, take action. That's what's going to get you results. Thanks for listening.